To what extent is this discussed, the motivations, is this discussed in the military, do you think? And do you think it's explained adequately?
Marines are definitely a different breed, especially the Marine Corps infantry. We don't discuss politics, to be honest. Everyone has their own personal, individual motives for joining the Marine Corps, whether it be family, whether it be something else personal. But at the end of the day, you know, I've been in Iraq and Afghanistan, and both times the guys who were next to me, 9 out of 10 times they joined because of September 11th. That is a huge motivation for us to do what we do.
What kind of work did you do in Iraq and Afghanistan?
I'm an infantry rifleman with the Marine Corps. When I was in Iraq, we were in Fallujah, Iraq in 2007. We were responsible for the protection and training of the Iraqi National Police and the Iraqi National Army.
So when people are saying, gee, what are we doing in Iraq? The Iraqis don't want us there. What was your experience?
My experience is that of the thousands of Iraqis that I met in the city of Fallujah, which has been the site of some of the fiercest fighting of the war, I can count on one hand the number of Iraqis who said that they did not want us there.
All the rest?
Loved us. They used to bring us dinner at our patrol base. They used to sit and talk with us. They used to thank us for what we were doing there. Everything that they could. These people had nothing, but what little they had, they tried to give to us. They were very sincere in their gratitude and their appreciation of everything that we had done.
What did they feel you were protecting them from?
The return of the oppressive situations that they lived under before we arrived. War is a terrible thing, and you're never going to meet anyone who disagrees with the fact of war more than someone who's fought it. However, at the end of the day, we believe that it, at times, unfortunately, is a necessary evil. The Iraqi people, as well as the Afghan people, lived under a brutal dictatorship and a brutal regime. And when they were unable to get rid of it themselves, the United States of America stepped in and helped them.
Do you think that the Marines have lost their morale?
Absolutely not. I was in Marja, Afghanistan. I returned back to America on January 2nd. I spent all of last summer in Marja, Afghanistan with 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines. Some of the fiercest fighting that's been seen in all of the war in Afghanistan. Our unit alone had 17 Marines killed and more than 300 wounded. I myself was wounded. I was shot in the right side of my chest our 3rd week there. Morale has never gone down. Morale has never been higher. The only time that Marines get frustrated and get down has nothing to do with morale. It's when we're being told, we feel the impression of us is that we don't want to be there or that we shouldn't be doing this mission. There is no place that we would rather be than Iraq. There is no place that we would rather be than Afghanistan.
Why?
We started a job and we will finish it.
How will you know when the job is finished?
Look at the advances and successes that have been made in Iraq. When America first got to Iraq, Iraqi people were under the direct control of a brutal dictator, Saddam Hussein. I saw the changes in Iraq myself. When we arrived in 2007, we were being engaged by the enemy insurgency. Fallujah was on the verge of returning to insurgent control. When we left 7 months later, women were walking around with their faces uncovered if they so chose. Females were attending school for the first time in their history. We're not there to preach. We're not there to enforce our ideals on anyone else. We're there to give them the freedom and the protection to figure out for themselves what they want their ideals to be.
You think this is a sectarian battle between warring tribes?
In Iraq or Afghanistan?
Your choice.
A little bit more so in Afghanistan. The tribal issue comes into effect. But at the end of the day, everyone does want control, and everyone wants to make sure that their tribe or their family is taken care of when this is all said and done. When it comes to us on the ground, we're not worried about each individual tribe. We're worried about the nation of Iraq and the nation of Afghanistan as a whole.
What do the Marines understand about the nature of global jihad?
What do we understand about the nature of global jihad? You need to explain that a little bit more.
What is motivating these jihadist Islamic terrorist attacks around, and the war against, the Taliban, for example, their war against you? What's motivating them?
I can only speak to my beliefs, my personal opinion, and this is something I've asked since September 11th. Al-Qaeda has said in their propaganda videos that they wanted to strike America and that they wanted to send a message. Their biggest target, the biggest target they took down, was the World Trade Center. It was also full of people. If they wanted to send a message and be symbolic, why didn't they fly a plane in the Statue of Liberty? How many fewer people would have been killed had they hit the Statue of Liberty? This wasn't about sending a message. This wasn't about the building itself. This is about murdering as many people as they possibly could. Me personally, and I speak for myself, I do not feel that they are jihadists. I do not feel that they are any type of religious warriors. They're murderers. They murdered more than 3,000 people in cold blood.
Okay, what is this here?
That is the Purple Heart medal that I was awarded and I was presented with for being wounded in action in Afghanistan.
You can hold that. A little like where your chin there. And where do they present it to you?
I was presented this medal on Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, when we got back from our deployment.
How badly were you wounded?
I was very lucky. My wounds were severe given the location, but compared to what they could have been, I have no complaints at the end of the day. I was shot in the right side of my chest. The round penetrated the buttstock of my rifle.
Tell me where?
Right here, just in front of my armpit and below the top of my pectoral. The enemy round penetrated the buttstock of my rifle. There's a piece inside of our rifle called the buffer rod. It's a metal rod. It actually went completely through my weapon, glanced off of the body armor plate that we wear, the protective armor, and passed through my right pectoral and became lodged in my armpit.
Were you conscious?
Yes, I did not. I was awake the entire time.
And what was it like after you realized you've been shot?
I didn't realize what was going on at first. I just kind of...
You had a lot of gear.
I had a lot of gear. I was very concerned about my Marines. I was very concerned about if anyone else had been hit. I was concerned about where the enemy was. By the time we actually settled down a little bit and realized what had happened, you just react. I reacted. The Marines around me reacted. We did what we had to do, and everybody made it home.
Where did they take you to a hospital?
We called in air support. I was extracted via helicopter by an Army medical unit known as Dust Off. They did a landing under fire, got me on the helicopter. I was taken to a nearby field hospital. I underwent 2 emergency surgeries, and I returned back to my unit about 4 or 5 weeks later.
How concerned were you that you might not make it?
I knew I was going to be okay. I didn't know how badly I had been wounded, but I knew I was going to be okay. Even if my wounds were more severe, I was surrounded by Marines, so I knew everything was going to be okay.
And this Purple Heart, you were willing to sacrifice it today if there was a way that you could have dedicated it?
I don't view that as a sacrifice. This was something I put a lot of thought into. I feel this is where it belongs. I know what this means. I mean, I have it in my hand now. It was presented to me. I feel that this is where it needs to be. This would make me comfortable knowing that it's here.
Tell me this. I got to run the camera again. Say it again.
I was a first responder at the World Trade Center, so I thank this gentleman for all he's done.
I thank you.
Let me put it this, the fire department and the police department in the city of New York are the greatest in the world, second to none. But, you had proactive, you had reactive, and you did what you had to do. And that's what you did what you had to do on a moment-to-moment basis. I can't even imagine what it's like in war or in battle. I know going on the ships and seeing the weaponry and stuff. I have 3 sons that are all of age to be on that ship, and I get tears in my eyes thinking about it. These guys, men and women, are so trained and so disciplined. And in a moment's notice, you heard this gentleman say there's not a thing that he would change. And I'm asked that all the time. Is there something that I would have done different? There's not a thing I would have done differently. At the moment, you did what you did, and you proudly did it.
Are you concerned, or how concerned are you about the damage done to people who worked here who suffered from toxic chemicals?
Well, I can clearly talk to you about that. I have esophageal cancer, I have asthma, I have post-traumatic stress, I have acid reflux, I have GERD, I've had 2 tumors removed from the front of my head.
That you didn't have before?
Right. September 10th, I ran 7 miles a day. I trained and played soccer. Now I can't climb up 2 flights of stairs. I have 3 sons. One is in a wheelchair. And, you know, I used to be able to carry him up to my condo. The thing that I'm disappointed about is I can't do the things that I used to do. But in my world with my sons, with my son in a wheelchair, we have a saying in our family, can't not spoken here. And that's what went on at 9/11. I'm sure that's what went on in battle. Can't not spoken here. Americans don't use the word can't.
So what message would you like to send politically about the 9/11 first responders, those who are suffering today, in terms of government support?
The guys who are able to have medical coverage and medical insurance and stuff like that, God bless them. I wish them well, and I hope that they can maintain and sustain family life and stuff like that. The guys who are volunteers who came here for no other reason other than to help, John Field, John Sferrazza, myself, and thousands of others, I just hope that people don't forget who we are and that we came with no reason, with no agenda, and we walked away with what we walked away with, not knowing that we were going to walk away with that. And it doesn't matter that we walked away with it, because like I said, I wouldn't change a thing because of or in addition to.
Is there a fund to cover your medical expenses?
I don't know that. I know that Mount Sinai Hospital and the people at Mount Sinai are amazing people. That's all that I have is Mount Sinai. Yes, I go to the Manhattan campus. And you know,
What about the bills?
that's all covered by a federal grant right now. And I don't know how long that funding is going to be there. But what I don't have is I don't have the ability to work like I used to work. I don't have the ability to earn the money that I used to earn. I don't have the ability to do the things with my sons that I used to be able to do. And looking in retrospect, if that's my contribution to our country, then I proudly make that contribution.
What do you think hearing that, Stan?
This means a lot. I'm glad you came over.
Thank you.
Glad I was able to talk to you.
Thank you.
We're all affected. We all had our own reactions. But
You feel connected to each other?
I do.
absolutely.
Good.
Semper Fi.